In this video, we're making a base server into a member server of an existing domain in Forest. So first thing we need to do is we're going to go into our DNS settings for our NIC, and we need to point to our primary DNS for that domain. In our case, it's going to be 192.168.79.100, which is our primary domain controller. Because this is a member server, we aren't going to use any external DNS settings. Now that we've made that change, we want to make sure that we can actually resolve using DNS our domain and our forward and backwards. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an NS lookup, which will be querying the domain, and our domain is trantor.local, and that works. And then we're going to go the other way, so we're going to do an NS lookup 192.168.79.100, and that should resolve to Trantor. And the server's name is Mars, so it comes back. Okay, so all that's working, so we're in good setup properly, so we can actually join this domain. So we're going to go up, we're going to select change, we're going to say we want to join a domain, we're going to put the full domain name in, trantor.local, select OK, gives us a prompt. We're going to put in the domain user's name, which we're using administrator, and the appropriate password. Select OK. And voila, we're now a member of that domain. And of course, being Windows, it's going to prompt us that we have to reboot the machine. And so we'll do a quick restart. And when it comes up initially, it's going to want us to log in locally. We do not want to log in locally now, we want to log into the domain. So we're going to select other user, and then we're going to put the domain name first, which in our case is Trantor, a backslash, and then the administrator we want to log in as, and we're going to use administrator, and then the appropriate password for the domain administrator password. Now that the server is coming back up, we're going to go back into local server, and now you can see that our server Jupiter is part of the domain. One of the things that happens when you make a member server part of the domain, it will then turn on by default the domain firewall. So for the sake of our labs, we're going to be turning off the domain firewall. And it looks like I forgot last time when I set this up to turn off Internet Explorer in security configuration, which would give us headaches if we need to do any web surfing on this one. Now we're going to go back over to our domain controller, and we're going to go back into Tools. We're going to go into DNS, and we just want to verify that the DNS record was properly entered for our server. There you can see Jupiter is now part of the domain and listed. And then we also want to make sure we go to Active Directory Users and Computers. And we're going to go into our domain, we're going to go into Computers, and there's our computer Jupiter, so the computer object is now also in Active Directory. And you can hit the refresh, and that will show all of the settings have been updated, and our server is now in a configured state and ready to go. So let's take a snapshot with VMware. So we're doing a snapshot, clean server. So we have a clean server that's just joined the domain. We're taking a snapshot at this point before we start any labs, so we have a nice clean point to go back to before having anything else done to this server. That'll make your life a whole lot easier as you're going through labs, that you can just revert to this point, do the next lab, move forward, revert to this point.